Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. We take source material, raw sources, and really try to find the core nuggets of knowledge for you.
That's the goal.
And today, wow, we are plunging into a really fascinating, pretty dramatic story. It's set right inside the Ming Dynasty imperial court.
Yeah, the sources we have, they're excerpts from an anthology, and they paint such a vivid picture. You get power struggles, political intrigue, and you really feel the personal cost of serving an emperor who is, well, unpredictable.
Completely. So our mission here in this deep dive is to guide you through these, really complex dynamics. We want to show how individual actions and, the emperor's whims, how they all tangle together to shape the fate of an empire.
And you'll definitely find some surprising facts, maybe a few aha moments about what life, power, and maybe especially loyalty really meant back in 16th century China.
Right. Let's get into it. We start by stepping inside the household of Prince Yu. Now, he's the heir apparent, the next in line, and the current Emperor Jiying is ailing.
And we find Prince Yu recovering from an illness himself. He's got his family around him, his wife, Princess Li, and their young son, who's only 5C old, maybe 4 by Western count. He's the future emperor.
Yeah, and it seems like this little bubble, this household, should be a sanctuary, right? A safe space.
You'd think so, but that illusion gets shattered pretty quickly. It is anything but safe.
Because then Chen Hong arrives.
Exactly. Chen Hong, he's a very high-ranking imperial eunuch, and the way he's addressed, it tells you everything. They call him second ancestor. There's deference, yes, but also you feel a real undercurrent of fear.
His presence alone means a message from the emperor is coming.
And it's not good news. It's an imperial decree ordering the banishment of Feng Bao.
Feng Bao, he's Prince Yu's trusted eunuch. But more than that, he's the tutor to the little prince, the heir's heir.
And beloved, the source actually says the child considered him part of his own body. I mean, imagine that connection.
Wow. And then it says his carefully built ladder of influence just crumbled with a flick of a finger.
Poof. Gone.
So it makes you ask immediately, why? Why would the emperor target someone so loyal, so important, inside his own son's household? Seems counterintuitive.
Well, that's Jiying for you. It might look like just random cruelty, but often there was a deeper, let's say, political calculus. It's a chilling reminder from the emperor. Nobody is untouchable, not even the people closest to the next emperor. It keeps everyone completely off balance.
Absolute unpredictable power on full display.
Precisely.
And the reaction inside the household, it's just explosive. Princess Li,
Yeah.
Prince Yu's wife, she doesn't hold back.
No, she doesn't. It's a rare display, the source notes. She confronts Chen Hong directly, fiercely demanding to know who could have possibly slandered Feng Bao.
And she says something incredible, right? She tells Chen Hong, this powerful eunuch, let the Ming dynasty be without heirs. Let him serve the emperor alone.
I mean, the sheer audacity, the courage that must have taken, it really shows you the stakes, how personal this all was for the imperial family.
And it's not just her. The little prince, the 5-year-old.
Oh, he dramatically clings onto Feng Bao, refusing to let him leave. Apparently, he even gets a bit cheeky, asking Chen Hong why he gets to order his tutor around. It's pure emotional chaos triggered by this one decree.
Right in the middle of the succession line.
Exactly.
So into this chaos steps Zhang Jusheng. He's the imperial tutor, not just for the young prince, but for Prince Yu as well.
And he handles it masterfully. Real political smarts. He manages to calm down the distraught little boy.
How does he do that?
Gently, but firmly, he explains that the grandfather emperor is sending tutor Feng to Kaoshan Temple to learn more skills before returning.
Wow, that's some quick thinking.
Yes.
A complete reframing of a banishment into, professional development.
Exactly. A brilliant bit of spin for a child.
Yeah.
And then, crucially, he tells Feng Bao, look, you need to leave now. Immediately. He promises to send his belongings later, understanding that delaying could be disastrous. You don't question an imperial decree like that.
So, this whole incident, it just perfectly sets the scene, doesn't it? It shows us just how volatile power was under Jiajing. This tangled web of personal loyalty versus absolute imperial control.
It really does. It foreshadows the kind of unpredictable, often brutal rule we're going to see play out in the rest of our sources. It's a stark lesson in how one erratic ruler can sow chaos and push loyalty to its absolute limit.
Okay, so that's the personal drama, the microcosm. But let's zoom out now. Look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The empire's finances. Because things were Well, just as turbulent there, maybe even more so.
That's right. They had recently confiscated a huge amount of wealth from Yansong's corrupt faction, so you'd think things would ease up.
What if they didn't?
Nope. Funds were still incredibly scarce. And this brings us right to the heart of court politics, these things called piaoni, basically cabinet proposals. Officials are just desperately debating how to slice up this tiny imperial pie.
And what are the competing demands? What's everyone fighting over?
Oh, it's stark. On one side, you have really urgent, immediate needs. Military supplies, they're fighting Tartars up north, Japanese pirates, the Wokou down south.
Right.
Then there's disaster relief. People are starving. And officials themselves haven't been paid properly in ages, long overdue salaries.
Okay, essentials, survival stuff. What's the other side?
The emperor's personal projects, grand construction jobs, new palaces, Taoist temples. We hear about Wanshu Palace, Yongshu Palace, Kaoshan Temple, the same place Feng Bao was supposedly sent to learn skills, and Xuandu Temple.
So basic needs versus imperial vanity projects. That sounds like an impossible balancing act. How do you even square that circle? Do you have your spiritual life versus the actual suffering of his people and his government?
That is the central dilemma. And what comes through loud and clear from these sources is that for Emperor Jiying, his spiritual well-being was the empire's well-being in his mind. Everyone else, though, they needed food, defense, just basic survival.
Yeah.
And making it all worse is this concept called Nianguan, the year-end hurdle.
What's that?
It basically describes how desperate things got for everyone, common people, even lower-ranking officials just trying to survive the end of the year with no money. There was even a popular couplet going around then.
Oh, yeah. What did it say?
Something like, "Year is hard to pass, this year's hardest, just muddle through. Debts must be paid, all debts must be paid, pay if you can." It paints a really bleak picture. Widespread poverty, crushing debt.
Grim. And Jia Jin's unpredictability fits right into this financial mess too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. At first, he's apparently rejecting proposals because they don't allocate enough money for his building projects. You can imagine the frustration of the ministers.
I bet.
Then, bam, a huge power shift. Lu Feng, the chief eunuch for a long time, known for being cautious, maybe a bit moderate, suddenly exiled, sent off to Nanjing to guard some ancestral tombs.
Just like that.
Just like that. And who steps in?
Chen Heng, the second ancestor from earlier.
The very same, now described as iron-fisted. He becomes the Hure, basically the head of the imperial secretariat, the top eunuch. And this transition, it's not smooth. His ruthless style starts making itself felt almost immediately. His power is now pretty much absolute within the palace walls.
Which changes the game for everyone.
Completely.
Okay, let's pivot then. Amidst all this high-level maneuvering and financial strain, there's this one figure who really stands out in the sources. Hai Rui.
Ah, Hai Rui, yes. He's introduced as an official of just unimpeachable integrity. So rigid in his principles, they actually nicknamed him Hai Gongfeng.
Which means?
Uncompromising Hai tells you everything, but we also learn about his personal struggles, real hardships.
Like what?
A family tragedy, his daughter drowned, his wife had a miscarriage and was left permanently ill afterwards. Most of his meager salary just went straight to medicine for her.
That's tough. And yet he's famous for his incorruptibility.
Exactly. But what's fascinating, truly telling, is what his mother thinks about it all.
His mother. What'd she say?
Despite his dedication to public service, she criticizes him quite sharply. She says an official who wants a good name should not marry and have children, and even less should have parents alive.
Wow. That's harsh.
She even calls him unfilial. It just highlights this intense conflict in Ming society, your duty to your family, filial piety, versus your duty to the state, public integrity. For someone like Hai Rui, being truly incorruptible meant immense personal sacrifice, almost to the point of failing his family in his mother's eyes.
So his mother thinks his public virtue is a private failing.
In a way, yes. The sources even mention his family had to rely on his mother's weaving just to get by. She'd make fabric and he'd have to sell it for them to survive.
That level of sacrifice is hard to fathom. It makes his dedication seem almost tragically profound.
It really does. And we see his principles in action very clearly when the famous physician Li Shizhen comes to visit him.
Li Shizhen, the author of the Benkao Gangmu, the great medical text.
That's the one. He humbly refuses the title, imperial physician, but everyone revered him as a divine doctor. And he shows real respect, real concern for Hai Rui and his family.
What does he advise him?
He actually tells Hai Rui to start with filial piety. Take care of your family before trying to serve the nation. He even quotes Confucius, Order your family, then govern the nation and bring peace to the world.
Interesting. Grounding his public service in private duty?
Precisely. It shows Hairui's dedication isn't just some abstract ideal detached from human feeling. And then, almost immediately, we see the dedication turn towards the common people. He gets sent to Daxing County, near the capital.
Why there?
Disaster relief. There's a severe famine. People are literally falling dead, according to the source. The situation is so bad there's talk of the White Lotus Society, a rebellious group potentially stirring up trouble.
So a real crisis zone.
Definitely. And Hairui, he draws on his previous experience as a county magistrate.
Yeah.
He doesn't wait for orders from Beijing. He takes drastic, really unconventional action.
Like what?
He orders all available public spaces, the county office, schools, temples, even the homes of wealthy families to be opened up immediately to house the starving and the displaced.
He just commandeered private homes.
Seems like it. He apparently declared, I tell you, this was the rule when I was a magistrate in Chunan and Xingguo. Just taking charge, hands-on, dealing with the immediate human need. A stark contrast to the court squabbling over funds.
Yeah, exactly the kind of decisive action needed.
But this whole crisis, the famine, the lack of funds, it all comes to a head back in the capital, at the Guangying Treasury.
What happens there?
This is where officials gather for their annual year-end salary distribution. Remember the year-end hurdle?
Right, everyone's desperate.
But the treasury, the source says, it's vast but not full. And what do the officials get? Even high-ranking ones, a tiny amount. 2 du of rice, 2 sheng of pepper, and 10 copper cash.
That's it. That's barely anything.
Exactly. Not nearly enough to survive the year-end hurdle. Understandably, there's widespread anger, frustration boiling over. And Hairui himself. Because of some previous imperial punishment, he gets no salary. For 6 months. Nothing.
Ouch. So all this pent-up frustration, where does it go?
It explodes into a collective protest. Hundreds of officials gather at the West Garden Forbidden Gate to remonstrate.
Is that dangerous? Has this happened before?
Very dangerous. The source explicitly mentions it tragically echoes the Left Shunmen incident from about 40 years earlier, where a similar protest ended in brutal repression, bloodshed.
So they know the risks. What are they demanding?
They've got their petitions clutched in their hands. They want to see the emperor. They're protesting the lack of funds for the military, for disaster relief, the widespread starvation, and what they see is the cabinet just doing nothing. They're shouting things like, "We are not here to protest our salaries," and "We want to know what you, the cabinet ministers and officials, have been doing these past 2 years." It's a direct challenge to the government's handling of the crisis.
A direct challenge. And where's the emperor during all this?
This is where it gets really chilling. Emperor Jiajing is watching from a hidden spot on a small hill overlooking the whole scene.
Watching his own officials protest? What's his reaction?
Complete detachment, even disdain. He doesn't see it as a legitimate complaint about the state of the empire or his minister's failures. He sees it as a personal attack on him, just because he built a few houses to retire.
Built a few houses. He was building massive palaces.
Exactly. He cynically dismisses the protesting officials as rotten soldiers. It just shows how isolated he is, how little regard he has for the people serving him.
What about Hairui? Does he have a take on him being involved?
It's curious. He refers to Hairui using this complex Taoist term, Qian Shen Qian Xie. It sort of suggests he sees Hairui as this pure, unbending force, like heaven itself, direct, maybe even stupid in his lack of subtlety, but ultimately reliable because he is so straightforward. Almost a backhanded compliment.
Huh. So he sees the protest, dismisses it personally.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next? Does he order the guards?
He doesn't even need to. Chen Hong, the newly empowered chief eunuch, takes matters into his own hands. He doesn't wait for an imperial decree.
What does Chen Hong do?
He orders his own security forces, the Tixing Division, the Zhenfu Division, which includes the infamous Jiniwei, the embroidered guard. He orders them to charge out and strike.
Strike the protesting officials.
Brutally. The source says, whips and staffs swung together. People fell like mud. Many officials, completely caught off guard, are severely beaten. Some are bleeding, others collapse unconscious.
While the emperor watches.
While the emperor watches from his vantage point, even the top cabinet ministers, Hu Ji and Gao Gong, they're shocked. They try desperately to intervene to stop the violence, but Chen Hong won't back down. He's making his authority known.
It's horrifying. Why would an emperor allow that? Or even, as you said, implicitly encourage it by just standing by? What does that say about his rule?
It says everything about his detachment, his paranoia perhaps, Any dissent, no matter how justified by the empire's dire situation, was seen as a personal insult. Control was everything. And this bloody crackdown was a terrifying message. Question my will, and this is the price.
A terrifying message indeed. So, after all this brutality, all this chaos, where do we end up? How does this chapter conclude?
We return to the emperor himself, Jia Jing. He's still enigmatic right to the end. His health is clearly failing, but he's talking about passing through the ordeal, achieving immortality. This is deep in his Taoist beliefs.
Still focused on himself even then.
Very much so. He talks about how isolated he feels, laments having no parents, no brothers, no intimate friends. He says only Lu Feng, the eunuch he exiled, really understood him. He mentions another eunuch, Huang Jin, as maybe the only confidant left.
Does he seem concerned about the future? About the succession?
He toys with it. He actually asks Huang Jin, who he trusts, to help Prince Yu, the heir, but then almost immediately he pulls back, says even he cannot make that decision. Still unpredictable.
And then comes the final twist, right? The palaces are finally finished. After all the political fighting, the financial strain, the suffering.
Exactly. The Wanshu Palace, the Yangshu Palace, everything's ready. The day arrives for him to finally move in. This is supposed to be the culmination of everything his ministers worked for, sacrificed for.
Yeah.
He refuses to move.
He refuses. After everything.
He refuses. Instead, he issues this scathing edict. He blames his officials for all the empire's problems, declares, "I am sick," and then famously, "The fault lies with me alone."
So he takes the blame.
He says the words, but then he adds this impossible condition. He announces he will not move into his new palaces until the empire is at peace for one day and the common people are at peace for one day.
Which is basically never, given the state of things.
Precisely. It's a devastating blow to his ministers. Zhu Zhe, the chief grand secretary, the guy who managed so much of this, he apparently collapses in tears, cries out, "We wish our Holy Majesty would move into Wanshu Palace and Yangshu Palace to atone for our unforgivable sins."
Try to placate him even then.
Desperately. But it's no use. The entire court joins in weeping, even the eunuch Huang Jin. The source describes the scene: cold wind blowing, snow falling, utter despair. The emperor is described as like rain without moisture, wind without halo, completely defying all expectations, all logic.
What an ending. Just baffling. Profoundly unsettling.
It truly is. It encapsulates his entire reign, in a way.
So what does this all mean? Our deep dive into these, truly turbulent chapters of the Ming Dynasty.
Okay.
It reveals this world where power was but wielded so erratically.
Constantly testing loyalty, making the line between serving the empire and just, basic self-preservation incredibly thin, dangerously thin.
Yeah. From that intense personal drama in Prince Yu's home, right through to the suffering of the whole population, the officials getting beaten, we really see how these grand imperial narratives were shaped by individual struggles, by very human flaws, and, frankly, the deeply unsettling psychology of the man at the top.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? In any system, really, when the people in power become detached or just completely unpredictable like Zhejiang, who ends up paying the price for all that instability?
That's the question. What lessons about leadership, about accountability can we possibly draw from this historical moment? Something for all of you to mull over.